Welcome to Gapology Radio with your hosts Mark Tinas and Brian Brokoff, authors of the leadership development books Gapology, IMBAR, and Speed of Purpose. At Gapology, our purpose is to help leaders achieve their greatest potential. To learn more about our groundbreaking books and training services, visit our website, gapology.org.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gapology Radio. If you're just getting started with Gapology or have a new member on your team that you would like to get up to speed on everything Gapology, you have a couple of options. Best is, of course, reading the full book, Gapology, How Winning Leaders Close Performance Gaps, or even read the more easily consumable executive summary section at the back of the book. Or you could even visit udemy.com and sign up for the short video-based e-learning course, which walks you through everything at a high level. You can find links to all of this on our website, gapology.org. And as for tonight, Mark and I will dive into how you can create action, real action, that produces long-lasting, winning results. So let's go ahead and dive right in with Mark Tinas. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
A little bit steamy.
You're steamy? Why?
It's like 110 degrees here.
Oh, the temperature? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's hot in Kansas City too. What's the actual temperature?
I think in California it's 110 when it's 110.
Yeah, because you don't have the humidity. Yeah. Wow. Man, it's smoking. And we have a hot topic tonight too. I think people are gonna get a lot out of this one. I'm really excited for this one, Mark.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, definitely. So everybody put on your air conditioning, turn that temperature down, settle in, grab a cool beverage. This is going to be hot. So we're talking about creating action tonight. We've kind of hinted around this topic for a long time, and a lot of the stuff, everything that we talk about is all about creating action. But we're going to talk about specifically what are some things that leaders can do to create action. It's a very common challenge that people have, and I think there's a lot of things that we can lay out systematically that people can really put into place and go after here. So I know you've got a lot of great notes on this one, Mark.
Yeah, let's go. To Brian's point, this is a common challenge that leaders have. How do I get my team to take action? How do I get them to take the right action, which produces the results that we need? And again, Gapology is all about that. Gapology is closing the knowledge gap, closing the importance gap in order to close the action gap. K, I, and A in that order. So you can certainly read Gapology, and that would be a life-changing lesson around creating action. What we're going to give you tonight is some simple things that you can, maybe they're not simple. They're simple to talk about, but they're things you can do immediately to create action in your team if you haven't read Gapology, and we'll assign you to do that, secondarily. And again, it is about the right action. So you need to be clear as the leader of the team what the behaviors are that produce the results that you need. You need to be clear. You need to figure that out. And if you're not clear on it, you'll often misdirect the team, and or they will not get to the level of action or the right action that that delivers the results that you're looking for. Thoughts on that, Brian, before I jump into some of the detail there?
Yeah. As you're saying that, I was thinking about leader rhythm. We talk about leadership rhythm a lot on the show. We talk about it in our book, Gapology. These are really pieces to build into your leadership rhythm. If you haven't built this in already with intent, blocking out time in your calendar for this stuff, oftentimes it'll get lost in that whole whirlwind of other competing priorities. So make sure that you listen to these pieces and take a look at what your leadership rhythm looks like and see where you can fit this stuff in. I think there's some key pieces here.
Yeah, one of the things which we'll talk about a little later, which ties to what you're saying, is most leaders don't spend enough time with their top performers.
Mm-hmm.
They spend more time with underperformers. And because of that, they don't learn what they should learn and what they can spread from the top performers. Often leaders don't know what the top performers know. The top performers are often doing it every day and they just know more. They know how to do it.
Yep.
So when you talk about rhythm, one of the things leaders need to do is carve out time, significant time, to spend with the top performers. It not only allows them to feel valued, but it allows you to learn.
Yeah, it reinforces and it recognizes those behaviors of those A-team players that are producing those results. It also demonstrates really what's expected, by recognizing those people. Often I do think leaders, they skip that part. They just kind of, let the A-team do what they're doing and just kind of work on everybody else. And, we are good at talking, but, use that 80-20 rule where you talk 20% of the time, let them talk 80% of the time. And, your 20% is spent just asking great questions to get them to really think.
Yeah, well said, well said. Hey, for anybody that hasn't read Gapology, when you hear us talk about the A team, the B team, and the C team, and we tend to not talk much about the B team, by the way, but what we're saying is the A team is the top 10% of performers, that outlier group on the top. The B group is the middle, and the C group is the bottom 10%, the underperformers. So we want you as a leader to always be in touch with what the A team is doing behaviorally and what the C team is doing behaviorally. You've got to know it. So that's what we're describing when we talk about A and C for whatever business you're in. All right. So when we talk about creating action, it's got to be the right action. So you as the leader have to understand what action you're looking for. What are the behaviors that equal the metrics that you need to deliver, that you're expecting to deliver? So you've got to tie those two together. The behavior and the metrics have to equal. They have to be the same. When you do this, you achieve this. So try and keep the metrics to a narrow number. We love 3. We view 5 as a maximum. But what are the metrics that equal, that are produced by the behaviors that you expect? And these become then the clear expectations that we talk about in Gapology. And that those are the expectations because that the behaviors, when executed, equal that metric. So if 95% is the number that's achieved when the behaviors are in place, then 95% becomes one of the key metrics that you're looking for. Does that make sense, Brian?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and when you're looking at what are the KPIs that really matter, key performance indicators, if you don't use that term, that's a pretty common term in business, and those are the metrics that matter. And we've seen businesses with many, many KPIs that they're being tracked and held accountable to. So, keep that narrow, keep that 3 to 5, like Mark said. The ones that really matter, make those the most important.
Yeah. So when I talk about the metrics, I'm talking about the KPIs that Brian references.
Right.
Key performance indicator. Whatever you call them, it's the measurement that you need to achieve the results you need. And you're clear that the behaviors you expect equal that. And again, that's where action comes in. Action is the behaviors that create that metric, that create that KPI. That's a big deal. So one of the things you've got to do is you've got to publish the metrics. You've got to publish the KPIs, ideally by person, again, and by team, however your organization divides up. We have found a number of organizations that are scared to do this. That's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You want to publish them and you want to rank them. You want the A team to be visible. You want the B team to be visible. You want the C team to be visible. It creates an energy and a behavior that drives results, to a higher level. So you got to publish the metrics. You got to publish the KPIs. And the other thing you've got to do is you've got to let the team know when the results, the metrics will be published. That affects the behavior and really impacts the results quite a bit. So if the team knew that every Monday a report was going to come out with their name on it that had the results, it would affect their behavior throughout the week in a positive way, especially if they're up for the job and have potential to be a top performer.
Why do you think they're afraid to publish results if they're, especially if they're like a sales team?
It's everybody gets a trophy kind of mentality.
Yeah.
We want everybody to win. Well, that doesn't work in a great organization. We haven't found that, to work. We've found that some of the bottom performers, the C players, can become A players in an environment where results matter, where the behaviors and the metrics are clear, and where we learn from the top performers how to get there. Mm-hmm. So it's just a mentality. Imagine a sports team without a scoreboard.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be fun to watch the game, probably.
No.
And it might be less fun to play the game. What's the score, Brian?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. That's not how it works in business. Business is about results. And again, some of you work for different types of businesses. It's still significant. We've worked with nonprofits that certainly needed to hit a number of donations to achieve their expectations, and the metrics and the behaviors matter, to achieve that. It doesn't just happen. We're not talking about being mean to anybody. We're just talking about putting up the scoreboard.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine somebody like Michael Jordan or Tom Brady or Michael Phelps, existing in a world where they're not measured, where they can't look up at that scoreboard or that time clock and see how they performed. I think if you want to create winning in your team, you have to track it. You have to post it. It has to be important.
Yeah. Well said. One of the other keys there that we touched on briefly is that you have to have a rhythm around when the metrics are going to be published. So the team knows that they're going to come out weekly, monthly, quarterly, all of the above, however it works. I grew up in a retail environment where we published the results for the day. And that was the driving force for me. I loved that. Every day was so much fun. At 9:00 when we closed the doors, how'd we do? Who did what? Mm-hmm. We'd be high-fiving and talking about it. And it was so much fun. And it taught me that, results matter, and publishing the results matter, and they do affect the behavior of the team.
Yep.
I'm going to change topics a little bit here, Brian, if I can.
Okay.
So remote work is a complicating factor that many of you are dealing with. It is difficult to create action with a team that you're not physically with. So you need to take that into account. You need to be even better at what we're talking about tonight. And you need to ensure that the behaviors that you're looking for in that team are reflected in the metrics, so that that when you see the metric, you are seeing the behavior. Think about that for a minute. That's how good you need to be at aligning the metrics and the behavior. You have to know that they're in place, even if you're not there. And it calls for the publishing of the metrics on a rhythmic basis, even at a higher level, because it's the only way you're going to know if the behaviors are in place. And those of you that are excelling in remote work, you're doing a great job. You've likely figured out what we're discussing, but it is difficult, and it's a different world. and you need to fully understand gapology, ensure that the gaps do not exist in your team, and you've really got to tie the behaviors and the metrics together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, Mark. When the world kind of shifted a few years ago, and a lot of people started working from home, it really forced leaders to have to change their, first of all, their paradigm, how they saw everything, but it really has forced them to adjust their behaviors in a way that best fits for the remote individual, right? To help them improve and grow and perform at a high level, leaders have to do things differently. And for some of us that have been around a long time, it's maybe been a hard journey, but you have to continue to look at how you can improve in whatever environment that you're in, whatever setting you're in. Continue to look at how you improve. And what you said there, Mark, I thought was really good when you said you just need to be even better. I think that's really key. In a remote workforce, you just have to be better.
Yeah. And you've got to really know the behaviors that equal the metrics.
Mm-hmm.
And when those tie together, it's a winning combination. So we talked earlier about the A team, and again, that's the top 10%. We've found a significant gap in most organizations where the leaders don't spend enough time with the A team. We already mentioned that. But it's a big deal. We may be speaking to you. So when you go spend time with the A team, plan on observing, plan on learning, sort of put your hat on backwards, play a different role as leader, ensure that you're clear on what the behaviors look like that are achieving that number that is quite a bit better than yours. Understand that in an ABC scenario, 10%, 80%, 10%, that the A team is outperforming you, the leader. Their number's quite a bit better than yours. So understand that and go figure it out. One of the things we found, again, let's say that the metric expectation is 95. And you go spend time with the A team and they're at 98. Likely the expectation should be 98. So if you can learn the behaviors that equal 98, then gradually over time the expectation can become 98. But you've got to get there. They're already there. The A team's already there. You're not there. So you need to understand the behaviors and the metric of the A team. And again, we're calling this out as a significant gap. Most leaders get caught up with the underperformance of the C team. And the best way, by the way, to impact the C team is to know what the A team's doing and then bring it to them. Train them in all those things they're not doing. Retrain them, teach them, help them see what the A team is doing. And then if they can't do it, they can't be on the team. But it's a big help to the C team to connect with the A team behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's interesting. So spending time with the A team, and I was just thinking about when, just before when we were talking about publishing the metrics, and some teams don't, leaders don't want to do that. Well, you're not going to know who your A team players are if you're not measuring and posting and all that. So you really have to do that, right? So I think that's really key. Those A players, they're the ones who are going to point you in the direction to move forward, move up. They're the ones who are going to give you those clues. And oftentimes we make leadership harder than it has to be. It doesn't have to be the leader coming up with all the things to train people on. You can look at what's already being done. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? The wheel's already been invented. It's like, look at what's winning and just do that, teach everybody else how to do that.
Yeah. We know of an organization that sent a group of leaders out into the field to observe the A team and what they were doing and to understand it. And that's a big deal. That's very helpful. So their mission was to find out what this group is doing differently. What's the top 10% doing differently so that we as an organization can all do that. And that was incredibly helpful to them to move their performance forward. Once you know that, once you know the A-team behaviors, you want to spread them to the entire organization via the habit ladder. What page is that on in Gapology, Brian?
It's on 46 in Gapology.
46. So the habit ladder's a very popular topic that's in Gapology, and it's how you create habit, in specific behaviors. It's a methodology for creating habit. And so if you were clear on what the A team was doing differently, you'd want to create an organization that had that as habit, and you would use the habit ladder, and that would be of great significance. And we've had probably some of the greatest successes of Gapology have come through the habit ladder. So the habit ladder works. It's pretty flawless. And if you're not familiar with it, add it to your toolbox. But it is a way of creating action, a way of creating the right action, and a way of spreading that through the organization.
Yeah, I would also say, if you're not familiar with the habit ladder, we've talked about it several times on the podcast. Just take a look at our catalog of podcasts, and we've got lots of content on that. So you can definitely do that if you don't have the book yet. But if you can, definitely pick up the book. We've got a lot of good stuff in there on that. One thing I wanted to say that kind of dawned on me as well, Mark, is if you are leading a team that just is a chronic B playing team. If you're looking at your scorecard every week and you're like, "Wow, I'm always in the middle of the pack," it's a great opportunity for you to say, "You know what? I want to do something different," and just take it upon yourselves and go visit those A players. Look at the top of the ranker and just go visit some of those people, talk to them, pick up the phone, do whatever you can to interview some of those people. Even if your boss isn't telling you, "Hey, I want you to do this," take it upon yourself to move to the A by learning from some of those A players.
Well said. A couple of best methods then to apply to this. So not really in any order, but the first one I'll mention is that you as the leader need to ensure that you model a behavior that's equal to that metric as well. It's very helpful when you can model the behavior you're looking for. If you're touring the organization and don't model a behavior for others, it can have a damaging effect, and we've seen that happen. So try and learn to model the behavior that you're looking for. Secondly, and again, not less important, celebrate the behavior and the metrics. Celebrate that top 10% and make a big deal out of it, and make that ongoing, because that is truly driving the organization and driving the results of the organization. Next, I would try and find a group of mentors, top performers, A players, who want to and who are skilled at, or can be taught to be skilled at, mentoring others. And one of the ways to eliminate the C group, the group that's currently C, would be to assign an A mentor to them. Make it that A player's mission to help somebody else, from the bottom up, a helping hand. It can be pretty significant. It can also be an incredible team building, positive experience. And we've found that a lot of the C players are not really C players. They just don't know what the A's doing. And once they connect with that, they can often rocket up to A. It's harder to move often the B group than the C group.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. And then we've seen recently in a number of organizations where they've created trainers who train, for example, Gapology, or train the behaviors that you're looking for, and literally travel around and work with the teams as trainers of the behaviors that you're looking for. That's their job. That can be significant depending on the business that you're in. So those are the best methods we've, learned and experienced in terms of creating action, to drive the metrics to the level that you're looking for by clearly driving the behaviors that deliver them.
Yeah, Mark, I love that. First of all, the trainers and the mentorship element, I think that is key. First of all, if you can leverage that A team to do that, like you said, I think that's a great way to number one, reinforce it for them, for those A players, reinforce it, recognize them, and so forth. It gives them a chance to kind of stand out, which I think helps with keeping their engagement level high. And then in addition, I was thinking this whole celebration thing you mentioned, that is really key, celebrating the top performers, celebrating not just their results, but the behaviors that drove those results. I think that's key, calling that stuff out, and then using your scorecard, with the bottom performers. You certainly don't want to, call them out necessarily in front of a large group or whatever. That's your time to privately coach them. If you're not measuring, if you're not posting, if you're not measuring that stuff, it's hard to really provide that coaching, the direction and support that those underperformers need. You need to do that, in private coaching sessions, I'd say. But, lots of good stuff here, Mark. We gave everybody a lot of tips with this one. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us either through social media, or you can email us at contact@gapology.org. That's contact@gapology.org. Feel free to shoot us an email. We'd love to chat with you on some of this stuff as well.
Great, Brian. Thank you very much.
Yep. All right. And I think that's a great place to leave it. Everybody have a wonderful week.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Talk to you later, Mark.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, that'll do it from here. For more information on Gapology, head on over to our website, gapology.org. Everyone have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you soon.
This has been a Gapology Institute production. Visit us at gapology.org.